Greetings! Let's talk about the accounting program at Lake Washington Institute of Technology. I'm Rex Jacobson. I'm the full-time tenured accounting professor, and I'm also in charge of the accounting program. So let's start off with some fun facts. Cha-ching! So fun fact number one, the average CEO, now a CEO is a chief executive officer, in other words, the person in charge of these large corporations, they make an average of $21.2 million per year. So what's the most common background that these CEOs have? It's accounting, because if you know accounting, you know the whole business inside and out. And fun fact number two, to ease your stress potentially, the math and accounting is actually very easy. So more on this later. So if you're freaked out about potentially being worried about the math and accounting classes, don't worry about it. We get to use calculators, and we even teach you how to use the calculator efficiently. So what do accountants and bookkeepers do? So every business needs someone to keep track of and analyze their financial data to answer questions like, hey, are we making a profit? Which products and services are our best sellers? Which computer systems are best for tracking our financial data? What is the best way to set up the software? And this is the kind of stuff that I really love. I love the accounting software, and I love using Excel and basically software programming in general. Other questions that accountants and bookkeepers answer. Should we expand the company? Should we build a factory? If we do build a new factory, should we sell more company stock to raise money for the factory, or should we sell bonds instead? Or maybe we should just take out a loan. How much should we pay our employees? These are things that accountants and bookkeepers do and answer. Which employees get bonuses? I wish teachers got bonuses. How much must the company pay in taxes, and how can we legally minimize our taxes? And this is kind of a fun one. Is anyone stealing from the company? How can we protect the things the company owns, such as our cash, our assets, such as our trucks and equipment, machinery, etc.? So if you like this kind of stuff, you might want to become an auditor, which is a type of accountant, or a forensic accountant. What a forensic accountant does is they try to catch criminals who are stealing things like cash. And here's a common myth I wanted to add. Not all accountants do taxes. I never did taxes when I worked in accounting. So as an accountant, you can do lots of different things, and most people just specialize in whatever they enjoy the most. I enjoyed the investment part of accounting, so I skipped the taxes. So what does it mean that accounting and bookkeeping is recession proof? And this is a good thing. So first, what's a recession? A recession is when the economy does poorly and some people lose their jobs because companies stop hiring for a while and decide to cut back. Now, because every company needs at least one accountant and or one bookkeeper, as long as there are businesses, there will be a need for accountants and bookkeepers. And as technology progresses, the jobs of accountants and bookkeepers becomes more interesting because they get to do more data analysis instead of trying to organize the data, which accounting software is doing a better job of now. So what types of jobs can you get with a 2-year accounting degree? A very common one is called Accounts Payable Coordinator Level 1. They track the bills that the company owes. So they basically track the bills and they make sure that we have enough money to pay them. So the average starting salary, and this is entry-level job, it's about $44,300 in the Puget Sound area as of 2021. Now this job progresses eventually to a job called the Accounts Payable Manager, which pays about $99,000 in the Puget Sound area. One of my previous students, she got her first job as an Accounts Payable Coordinator, and she worked her way up to Accounts Payable Manager, and she was making about $100,000. And the thing is, she did not get her 4-year degree. She was starting to work on it, but she never did finish her 4-year degree, so she became an Accounts Payable Manager with just a 2-year degree. Other types of entry-level jobs you can get with a 2-year degree include Accounts Receivable Coordinator, and what they do is they track what customers owe the company. And it's about $42,000 to start in the Puget Sound area in 2021. And this job can eventually progress to Accounts Receivable Operations Manager, which makes about $97,000. And if you want to get into the banking area, it doesn't pay quite as much as accounting, but you could start off as a bank teller, $30,000 in the Puget Sound area, and that eventually progresses to head teller, and then teller manager, and then banker, and then upwards from there. So what kind of jobs can you get with a 4-year accounting degree? So the most common one is a junior accountant. Again, this is entry level. You start about $61,000. It'd be more if you became a CPA, which is a certified public accountant. Now, not all accountants are a CPA, just a small subset are. Now, this junior accountant, that could eventually progress up to chief accounting officer, which makes almost $250,000 in the Puget Sound area. So the cool thing about accounting, the skills that you learn in accounting you can use in other areas too. So what other skills can you learn from accounting? Well, learning accounting can help a person become a better stock picker, in other words, a better investor. I personally use my accounting knowledge to run an investment business where I recommend different stocks and funds to invest in. Other than teaching accounting, this is my true passion. So the graph, the chart at the bottom of this PowerPoint slide, it shows the stock market, what it's done since 1929 all the way up to 2021. And the stock market is represented by the S&P 500, which is just 500 of the biggest companies in the US, of which it's actually now easy for people to buy partial shares into the stocks. So even if you don't have $3,000, you can buy a partial share of Amazon. It's all really fascinating to me. So other skills, just to continue this topic, if you want to see how I use my accounting knowledge to pick stocks, you can read my interview I did with Forbes magazine where I recommended investors buy Amazon stock, which at the time was selling for $700 a share. Today it's worth more than $3,400 per share. And there's a link to the interview. And if you read the interview, you'll see that I get into a lot of number crunching. And it's all just accounting stuff that I've learned through the years. So another common question we get is, how are accounting classes currently run? Currently, all of our accounting courses are fully online. A few have live lectures, but most are asynchronous classes, which is just a fancy way of saying you don't have to log in at any set time. Lectures and homework demonstrations are almost always recorded, so you can watch and rewatch them. So there's no Zoom sessions. I hate Zoom sessions. I don't know about you, but I get tired of them. There's no Zoom sessions that you have to go to. We have some that are optional. But you can just watch the lectures and homework demonstrations anytime you want. And because students can rewind these lectures and rewind these homework demonstrations, grades are higher for our online classes than they were in our face-to-face classes when we used to have them. And 90% of our students currently prefer these online asynchronous classes, because this means you can work on the class whenever you want, whether it's at 1 a.m. or 1 p.m., just as long as you meet the assignment deadlines. Now in the future, we may have optional open lab times on campus where students can come to campus to ask questions. And we're trying this right now with an open Zoom session once a week. And we're finding that most students don't need to come because most of their questions are answered either in the videos that I record for them, or they just send me an email. So there's no need to wait for a Zoom session. You just send me an email, and I'm really famous for answering questions really quick, even on the weekends and in the evenings. And of course, I'm always available to answer questions, like I just said, via email or in a quick one-on-one Zoom session, oftentimes even on the weekend. So more about our accounting program. Our accounting program is very hands-on. We get tons of practice working on problems together via video demonstrations. And this is because this is what students have requested. They love to get lots of practice because it builds their confidence, and then the tests are easy. Almost all homework has video demonstrations that you can watch and then rewatch, because we don't want you to miss any single step in the accounting process. And you can try homework problems as many times as you want up until the deadline, and your highest score is recorded. So what this means is if a student tries a homework problem for the first time, gets 75%, they usually do it again and maybe again until they get 100% or very close to 100%. And almost all tests have practice tests that you can also try an unlimited number of times, up until the deadline, of course. And because we show students every single step to do the homework, and because students get lots of practice, the average score in our classes are very high. And so what does it take to get into the accounting program? The accounting program is structured such that students can start in any quarter, and the prerequisites are English 93 or placement into English 99 or higher, and ABED 40 or placement into Math 87 or higher. Now, Math 87 is not a very high level math because the math required in accounting is not difficult. It's really easy. So students will learn how to organize a company's financial records and to analyze those financial records to make wise business decisions, such as whether the company has the capability to expand and how to analyze data, including stock data. They will also take 2 classes on income taxes and 2 classes in Excel. I really love Excel, as well as learning accounting software, which I also really love to teach and to use. I use it in my business. So the same software that I use for my investment business to keep track of my accounting information, I also teach as part of the curriculum. So what type of personal characteristics are best for a career in accounting? So the type of person that fits well in accounting is someone that likes to solve problems and puzzles. And when you do our homework, you're going to find out a lot of times it's kind of like a fun problem or a fun puzzle. These people usually like data analysis, which is big data, especially big data. These people have good attention to detail. They like working with data and numbers. They like to be organized. But as I discuss on the next slide, the math and accounting is surprisingly easy, so you do not need to be a math whiz. I am definitely not a math whiz. So if you have a high-level algebra question in your other classes, don't ask me because I will probably have no clue. Especially don't ask me about pre-calculus. I had that like 30 years ago. Don't use it, so I don't remember it. So the most common myth about accounting class. Now, I've been teaching accounting for a long time, and the most common myth about accounting is, as we just mentioned, the math must be difficult, right? Not at all. Let me demonstrate. All of accounting is based around a very simple equation. Are you ready for it? Here it is. Assets equals liabilities plus equity. Now, at this point, I would not expect you to know what these words mean, but to do the math, we don't need to know what the words mean yet. Just know that assets, whatever they are, equals liabilities plus something called equity. So let's take a look at fictitious company A. They have $10,000 of liabilities, whatever that is, and $80,000 of equity, whatever that is. Now look at the equation above in purple. The equation is assets equals liabilities plus equity. So how much is company A's assets? Well, obviously it's $90,000. Pretty easy, I hope. Now let's look at fictitious company B. Their assets are $50,000. If their liabilities are $20,000, then how much is equity? In other words, $20,000 plus what equals $50,000? That's right, $30,000. Ready for another one? Let's look at our final company, company C. If their assets are $70,000 and their equity is $20,000, then how much must liabilities be? $50,000. So was that difficult? I hope not. And did you know that for company B and C, you technically had to use very simple algebra to get the answers? So you used algebra and you did not even know it. And that's as complicated as the math gets in accounting. Now, not all numbers in accounting are nice round numbers like this, so students get to use calculators on tests. But something must be challenging, right? Of course. There are some potential challenges. Vocabulary is probably the number one thing. It's critical. Vocabulary is critical. For example, you will eventually need to know the meaning of assets, liabilities, and equity. As an example, let's talk about liabilities. Liabilities are debts. It's the amount of money that the company owes to others. So how much does company C owe to others? $50,000. What is company C's debt? $50,000. So you'll need to know that liabilities and debt means the same thing. So accounting is truly a new language that we'll be learning together. And the other thing that trips up some students is the fact that accounting builds on itself. What you learn in chapter 1 will be used in every other chapter. Same with chapter 2. So strive to actually understand the concepts. Don't just memorize them. It's just like math. You can't learn to multiply until you first learn how to add. So a little bit about me. I worked in the accounting industry for many years, starting with accounts receivable and then payroll and benefits administration. I've been teaching since about 2004. Besides teaching and accounting, some things I love to do include investing. Like I mentioned before, I started my own investment business about 20 years ago where I recommend stocks and mutual funds for people to invest in. How do I choose the stocks to invest in? Of course, I use my accounting knowledge. I'm also a big fan of the Seahawks football and the National Basketball Association. I enjoy the weightlifting, health, and fitness in general. And my second home is my favorite gym, 425 Fitness in Redmond. I also love comedies, music, learning, pets, torturing students, and humor in general. Now, students can email me at rex.jacobson@lwtech.edu at any time. I'm famous for answering emails very quickly, as I mentioned before, including on the weekends and the evenings. So sign up for some accounting classes and let's learn some accounting together soon.